I've submitted your divorce documents.
Excuse me? What are you implying?
Simply, I've done you a courtesy and filed your divorce documents. I'm not surprised you're confused, considering your lack of formal education. Your brain is nothing but fluff.
Annie, you've been throwing around that insult quite often recently. There's a limit to what can and cannot be spoken to others. Haven't I made myself clear enough?
What are you suggesting? I'm just expressing the facts.
Regardless if it's the truth, that's not a justification. It's irrelevant whether you believe something is true or not. You can't simply blurt it out. You're almost in high school. You should have understood this by now. Before criticizing someone's education, evaluate their human worth.
No matter how much you chatter, I won't heed words from a high school dropout.
Dropout?
Dad spilled the beans. You didn't complete high school.
Dad revealed that?
Exactly. He confessed that you only made it through middle school and are as clueless as they come. Reflecting on it, you're not particularly good at anything.
Is that your belief?
Absolutely. Like you can't prepare any dishes I favor. Instead, you serve dreadful pre-frozen meals.
I work a full-time job. Plus, I'm responsible for all the house chores. Thus, I rely on frozen meals prepared in advance. It's known as meal planning, Annie. It's very popular. And what do you mean by food you want? You consistently request fried foods. I consider your nutritional needs when I prepare your meals.
Parents who can't understand their child's needs are terrible parents.
If that's your belief, why don't you assist with the house chores? With some help, I could cook fresh meals every day. Neither you nor your father contribute to the house chores. I only receive complaints.
Now you're trying to shift the blame onto me? Maybe you should focus on resolving your issues. I can't believe how incompetent you are. High school dropouts truly are a class apart. It's a good thing Dad's divorcing you.
Speaking of which, I haven't come across any divorce documents. I certainly haven't signed any.
I took care of your signature. I already informed you that I've submitted everything.
Are you serious?
I couldn't be more serious.
I need to have a word with your father. Richard, could you shed some light on the current situation? I've heard whispers about a divorce. Is there any truth to that?
I see Annie has spoken to you.
Is our daughter really involved in this? Did she forge my signature on the divorce papers? It feels like a sad caricature of a sitcom plot. Does she comprehend the severity of her actions?
It was at her request that I acted on it.
She requested this? But why?
She wishes us to part ways.
What led her to such a drastic wish?
She believes your presence will cast a shadow over her future. She pleaded with me to find another partner. When your child, whom you adore, asks for something like this, it's hard to dismiss it.
Do you grasp the gravity of this situation? Forgery of a signature on a legal document such as a divorce paper is a serious crime. You allowed our daughter to commit this crime.
It was her wish. What choice do you have now?
She has been increasingly defiant towards me over the past year. I thought it was a common teenage rebellion, but now I'm not so sure. Did you feed her the story of me being a school dropout?
I simply shared your lack of competence.
Why would you slander me like that?
Isn't it the truth? You toil away all day yet make less than I do. You seem stuck in a perpetual rut.
That's only because I receive no assistance with household chores. Without me, our household would be in shambles. If I were to take on a demanding job, I'd have to refuse any significant project.
That's the crux of your incompetence. A woman is expected to manage household chores along with her job. Look at my company's president. He manages to take care of his wife and share the chores too.
Yes, I'm well aware of that.
If a busy corporate figure can manage his household, why can't you? It's your incompetence holding you back.
But he shares the workload with his wife. It's not a one-man show. Their situation is vastly different from ours. They have the resources to hire house help.
Arguing about this is pointless. I'm through with you. Annie and I can manage without you. Let's proceed with the divorce.
What do you mean you don't need me?
This conversation has run its course. Pack your belongings. Annie is striving to get into a reputable private school. Our moving would disturb her future plans, wouldn't it?
I understand now. I presumed my efforts for our family were recognized. You're correct. Let's move forward with the divorce.
Don't you see? In essence, we've already separated.
There's no need to be harsh. What happens next? Who gets custody of Annie?
We should let her decide.
I don't envision having much interaction with her post this. You can have her.
But you are still obliged to pay child support.
I'll consult a lawyer about that. I need to find a trustworthy one first.
Time is of the essence. You need to provide child support as a lump sum promptly. I will keep track of this until I receive the funds.
I require some time to find a new place. I'll need to stay here a little longer.
2 weeks. That's all you have.
Fine. I was hoping to use my paid leave for something more pleasant. But it seems I have no other choice. I'll vacate as soon as possible.
Pay attention, madam. Your legal documents are processed and your divorce is official. Could you please expedite your departure?
Leaving a house that's been home for over a decade isn't simple.
Predicting you'd say that. I've collected your belongings and placed them outside.
How could you do that? Those are my personal items.
The sooner you exit, the better it is. Consider it a final favor from your daughter. I know you're hoping for Dad to retract his decision.
What did you just say?
Am I wrong? You're waiting for him to propose that we reunite as a family. Seems like a typical move for someone who didn't finish their education. Don't presume Dad will easily reconsider.
I wasn't contemplating that.
Here's some information that might hasten your departure.
Relocation takes time, but go ahead, tell me.
Dad has found someone else. I'm going to have a new mother. Hence, there's no place for you here. I want to welcome my new mother as soon as possible. I no longer need a woman lacking education in my life.
A new mother? What are you implying?
I'm saying Dad has been unfaithful to you.
Are you serious? And you were aware?
Of course, you wouldn't notice, given your lack of insight. I spotted Dad with a young, beautiful woman a year ago when I returned from school. He introduced her as my future mother.
So, all along, while I thought you were just being rebellious, it was because of this newcomer?
Dad stated this new woman would be a vast improvement over someone who didn't finish school. Thus, I decided to help expedite matters.
So you aided him in his infidelity?
Seems like it. We'd pretend we were going shopping on weekends, but it was a ruse. Dad would compensate me, and I'd spend time with friends. Concurrently, Dad was engaging romantically with his new partner.
I'm at a loss for words.
I provided him with an alibi and assisted him in all aspects. Your obliviousness made me realize something. You're indeed as unobservant as he portrayed.
So, while I was home alone, you two were scheming behind my back.
Anyone perceptive would have noticed from the beginning. My new mother is well educated. She's a college graduate. Moreover, she won a beauty pageant during her school days. She even received an offer from a television company. That's a mother I can take pride in.
By any chance, does this woman work with your father?
Correct. She's one of his team members at work.
I see.
Although our genes differ, I prefer a mother with a strong educational background guiding me towards a prestigious high school. That's why I aided Dad with his deceit.
It's all clear now. Your father and I discussed, and he'll be taking custody.
Of course. By the way, even if I'm obligated to see you, I have no intention of attending our meetings. Your lack of knowledge is infectious. I wouldn't want to catch it. Sharing a room is scary enough. Living under the same roof is a nightmare. Be gone, drop out.
Do you know that your father is actually the one who dropped out of school?
Don't make up stories. I won't believe them.
Didn't I explain clearly? How odd. I simplified it enough for a middle schooler to comprehend. Your father dropped out of school.
That's nonsense. There's no way Dad dropped out. Don't spread lies about him.
He's the one deceiving you, Annie. He quit high school at 16 due to immense parental pressure. He's always felt inferior about his education. And instilled the same attitude in you. For your information, I'm a college graduate.
So you're implying Dad didn't finish high school? And you're a graduate? He's been lying to me all along?
You mentioned that sharing space with a dropout is a nightmare. Well, you'll be sharing that space with your father from now on.
Regardless, even if you graduated, it must have been from a mediocre institution.
Still trying to belittle me? Is it that crucial for you to demean me?
Out with it. You went to some subpar school, right?
I attended Boston University. It's hardly subpar.
That can't be. I refuse to believe it. Dad said you never completed high school. He mentioned that despite your hard work, he earns more.
That's because I prioritized my family. I declined several promotions to ensure I could care for you. I was content to continue until you completed your education. Without me, no one would maintain the household. Regarding income, I make only slightly less than your father each month. The gap is less than $300.
Only $300?
Your father is insecure about his education. To shield his ego, he boasts about earning more. Well, he does earn slightly more. He also puts in a lot of overtime. I wonder why his pay is nearly the same as mine. Even though I handle the household chores.
It's hard to digest that Dad was the dropout.
Well, you'll have to adjust to the idea. And don't worry, I've taken leave for this week. And will vacate the house by the weekend. Please introduce your highly educated mother to your home.
Enough. Stop taunting me. My new mother won a beauty pageant, which makes her superior to you. Despite being a dropout, Dad is employed at a renowned company. No complaints here.
I'm pleased you're attached to your father rather than me. After all, he's the only one you have left. Maintain this attitude and stay close to your father.
Excuse me. Can you explain this to me? Why is our house being taken away? Things were finally settling down without you. Trying to get Dad's attention by tormenting us isn't going to work.
This isn't torment. That property is registered under my name. And I've chosen to demolish it.
Registered under your name? What are you saying?
That house was gifted to me by my father. I'm the rightful owner. It's my property. I've made renovations and lived there ever since.
But isn't Grandpa living somewhere else?
Your grandfather has his own arrangements. He doesn't need to reside with us. He had already transferred the property to me even before I married your father. Being my property, I'm entitled to make decisions regarding it.
This has to be some sort of prank.
On a side note, did you know unfaithful individuals tend to experience a significant decrease in cognitive abilities? Probably why your father overlooked some key details, such as the actual owner of the house. He also seems to have forgotten that my father heads his company.
Are you serious?
Absolutely. Your father is employed by my father. Your grandpa is the boss. Your father's dislike for my family is probably why you've never met them. Besides, your grandpa's schedule is quite packed, so opportunities for a meet are rare.
Why was I kept in the dark about all this?
I suppose my family made your father feel less important. Maybe that's why he unleashed his frustration on me. By the way, I've discussed with your grandfather. And it seems there's more bad news besides the house situation. Your father and his mistress are about to lose their jobs.
What's the reason for that?
They have been misusing company funds for personal expenses. That's unlawful, you know. The severance package they would have normally received will be used to cover their theft.
So you're saying we're not just losing our home but their jobs too?
Exactly.
I'm enrolled in a private all-girls school, you're aware of that, right? I'll need funds for tuition and uniform.
It's uncertain whether those two can provide for such expenses.
What about child support? You, as my mother, are legally required to provide child support.
I've already consulted with my attorneys. And discussed it with your father yesterday.
You do realize you're supposed to financially support me till I'm an adult, right?
That's incorrect.
Care to explain why?
I investigated his affair. That's how I discovered the company funds he had been embezzling. Moreover, it seems they've been together for about 3 years. considering the duration of his infidelity till your revelation. The child support I owe you and the alimony he owes me balance each other out. We're both entitled to our individual savings when it comes to asset division.
So how much would Dad have left?
Splurging on his new lover. He must have exhausted his funds, which likely led him to misappropriate company funds. I'd wager his account balance is nearly zero.
This is overwhelming.
I'll also be pressing charges against his mistress. Not sure about their future. But do your best to stay by your father's side.
Mama, I want to stay with you.
Do you think that's feasible at this point?
I'll assist with the house chores. Please let me live with you. It can be just us women.
I'm afraid you've exhausted your quota of unconditional love. From now on, you'll need to earn it.
How could you say that? I'm your only child.
I've always wanted the best for you. But you took your father's side without any proof. And actively disrupted our family. I can't overlook how much you've belittled me.
I deeply regret it. If I knew Dad was using me to cover up his affair, I would have acted differently. I'm a victim in all this.
You can't play the victim now. Regardless of being manipulated, you did say some very hurtful things. Those were your words. You may still be young. But a teenager should be capable of understanding the consequences of their actions.
Mom, please. At least let me live with Grandpa. There's no future for me with Dad.
You've already made your choice.
Mom, I'm really sorry.
I should express my gratitude before I forget.
Gratitude?
For informing me about your father's affair. That intel made it much easier for me to connect the dots.
If I hadn't told you, Dad would still be employed, right?
As your mother, my final lesson for you is this. Consider the feelings of others before you speak. As you navigate the real world, strive to learn as much as possible. Remember, there's no one in this world who deserves to be looked down upon. Show compassion to all. Farewell and best of luck.
Wait, don't leave Mom. Please don't cast me aside.
One more thing. The demolition of my house is scheduled for the beginning of next month. Make sure you've vacated by then.
Where am I supposed to go with no place to stay?
With the divorce finalized. Your father's situation is none of my concern. I'll be focusing on my work from now on. Goodbye, Annie.
Mom, I'm pleading. Come back. I assure you I'll help around the house. I won't belittle you anymore. Mommy? Please don't forsake me.
My ex-spouse and his partner have both lost their jobs. And now they're living in a modest home out in the rural area along with Annie. Annie had to let go of her ambition of attending her desired private school. And now she is enrolled in a public high school. However, due to the financial strain her father is facing, she constantly has difficulties with routine tasks, such as affording school outings or socializing with friends over the weekend. I suspect her father is simply counting down the days until she turns 16. So she can quit school and contribute to their household income by working.